Alright, ladies and gentlemen, some reactions to the group. As I understand it, Group B and Group D are the only two groups that both Korea and Europe can get into. So Group B is either Damwon or Splice, assuming the number one seeds qualify through play-ins, which is going to assume so. I'm not going to say that I know much about the play-in teams or about what could potentially happen in play-ins, but up until the point where it's consistently proven that, for example, Vietnam is a very, very consistent and strong region, I'm going to rate them as such. Now, Vietnam is a region that has so many players that we're going to reach a point where they're going to be like the fifth major region. LMS has reached a massive decline, and it's something that I haven't paid that much attention to either. HQ, as I understand, is the number one seed, come from the LMS. Or is it J team? Honestly, I have to check. So it looks like they won. They beat HQ. Okay, so they're the number one seed. HQ is in the second seed. So let's just go through the groups. Group A, obvious favorites, G2 Griffin. I think Griffin will top the group because I think they seem to do well in short spurts, and G2 tend to int a bit in best of ones. It's kind of spooky because this is the type of group that definitely a team like G2 could lose to some random teams too. They're going to have potentially Hong Kong Attitude as the fourth team that is going to be one of those wildcard teams that G2 loses again. I feel like this is up for debate. G2 haven't really proven that high level of consistency in group stages, and this could get scary because C9 don't back down. They have a level of consistency to them, always. C9. Well, of course, on paper, Griffin and G2 are going to be the top contenders. Something to point out as well is Griffin still haven't really proven themselves in games that matter. They've lost basically 3 out of the 4 best of 5s they played. They played one final to qualify, and Griffin is still a massive question mark. But if we're going to look at power, it's obvious, but I'm predicting, honestly, I would put my money on, I think G2 will come out first. I think G2 5-1, Griffin 5-1, and G2 is going to win the tiebreaker. But we have to keep in mind there is a world where G2 loses to C9, loses to TBD, which will be Hong Kong Attitude if we're going to go by seeding and which teams can be in this group. There's no NA team, no Korean team, no European team, so obviously there has to be, the fourth team if we assume all the first seeds come in. So still, big question marks for G2 and Griffin. I still predict G2 and Griffin to come out ahead. G2 first. It can only be Hong Kong Attitude, exactly. But we don't know. We don't know if they qualify. At least I don't know. I don't want to say it with certainty because I don't know about Hong Kong Attitude. I don't know how good LMS is. I really don't know. So this is a very, very deadly group. I think C9, they are very consistent, but they don't have a lot of firepower. Like Svenskeren is the best player on this team, best performer, and he is up against Tarzan and Jankos. This is really, really doomed, honestly. Like if Svenskeren is your strength and he's supposed to out-jungle Tarzan and Jankos, that will be a very tough one. Niski versus Caps and Chovy also sounds very rough. Sneaky and Zazel versus Viper, Lehens, and Perks and Mickey. Also, like, Cloud9 is playing against the bot lanes that have the biggest champion pools of the tournament. This is, they are miles ahead in terms of champion pool. It's absolutely nuts. If Clutch get into B, then that is the group of life. Group B, they cannot get to Group B. They have to go to Group C. Clutch Gaming has to get into Group C. So basically, Clutch Gaming is only eligible to enter here because they don't fit into here, they don't fit into here, and Damwon and Splice only fit into these two groups. So basically, Damwon can go here, they can't go here, they have to go here or here. EU the same. Clutch only fits here because this is a slot for both Damwon and Splice. That's why they have to go to C. Splice are only eligible to go Group B, Group D. Same thing for Damwon. That's why the Clutch Gaming has to go to C. So Group A, I think C9 are completely outmatched on every single lane. Players that might look exciting regionally are not as exciting in this group. There is just no firepower at all on Cloud9. It's just that you might see them get some lead here and there, but as the game progresses against both of these teams, I think they're just going to fall apart. And I don't think C9 are going to become much better than they are. I don't think they have any edge in draft. I don't think they have any edge at all, besides their consistency. They only have their consistency as a strength in regards to the other two. And if Griffin and G2 drop the ball, happens, right? You know? It could definitely happen. Licorice is not going to do anything interesting against a team like Griffin. If you look at the games where Griffin, you know, the biggest issue is, especially for NA, is that the top lane meta is way ahead in Korea. Like, they are playing the champions that are going to punish the shit out of you. They're willing to play the Jace, they're willing to play the Elise, they're willing to play things that snowball very, very hard. People like to say that Korea is very slow, but they are slow during the mid game. But the early game is very, very fast. Doran is not weak. He's probably the worst top laner. Is he the worst top lane coming out of Korea? We have Nuguri and Khan. Yeah, I think you could say so. But he's not by any stretch of the imagination bad. He's not going to be like, oh, Licorice is gonna stomp me. No. This is very dangerous. And I think the Korean top lane meta is going to be the whole top lane meta of the tournament. Playing Camille, Jace, Renekton, Elise jungle. There is no more Aatrox. There is no ranged champions. All of these champions are myths. Besides Jace. Maybe Cannon will still find play. But it's like, you cannot play like Karma top or Nico AP top. They're just playing hard bully lanes. Yeah, Rise is also one. I guess saying that it's ranges is a wrong one. Vladimir top is specifically into GP, right? And Nuguri is fantastic at it. You know, Gangplank has been a really big pick in a lot of regions, but it's just people... let me rephrase this. Top lane meta, I think the way Korea plays around it is super fucking dangerous. That's all. It's wrong to say that they don't play ranged champions, but they play champions that they're picking very, very strong lanes. So this Group A, I think it's pretty decided. C9, maybe they can pull off some magic, but I think it's only in the case where Griffin and G2 underperform. There's no way in hell Cloud9 is in any shape or form better than these two teams if they play well. That's just a fact. G2, inconsistency issues, Griffin, choking issues. Definitely possible. I think we can move on. Hong Kong attitude, I don't know shit about them. Honestly, I don't even know if they're going to qualify. Maybe they lose to Royal Youth or... TBD is to be decided because they haven't played play-ins yet. Group B, J-Team, I just looked it up. They're apparently the first place LMS team. Gigabyte Marines, FPX. I feel like... Gigabyte Marines, they can be the kings of their own jungle. I think by no stretch of the imagination is this going to be easy for the fourth team. Unless it's Damwon. I think if Splice get into here, I think they don't match up well against these teams. Honestly. Splice get into here. There is a certain, there's a certain wildness to the fact that both Gigabyte Marines and FPX play something that is completely outside of the norm. And with that being said, I think Splice don't deal with new things that well as a team. So with that being said, here, FPX, Gigabyte Marines, J-Team, I think Splice is going to have trouble here if they end up here. If Damwon gets into here, I think Damwon is one of the favorites to win the tournament. So honestly, if Damwon gets into here, I think there's a chance they can aim for first, because Damwon is very dangerous. FPX is a team that I think they will benefit a lot from all of these patches that have happened before the World Championship, nerfing a lot of the meta champions that everyone else plays besides them. So that being said, I think FPX, I think Tian, Crisp, Doinby are really, really freaking good. Really, really good. The way they pressure into mid is, I think SKT versus FPX is going to be like a dream matchup to just see how they maneuver around mid lane and how they pressure the map. But FPX, I feel like they need to be figured out. And that has always been the case in previous LPL playoffs, is that FPX needed to be figured out, the right bans need to come through, and all of a sudden they look worse. But this year, or last split, it didn't happen. They beat RNG, kept drafting in a very similar fashion, and then continued on, they continued on to the World Championship now, and still, you reach a point where you ask yourself, oh, you're just going to figure them out, you're going to beat them, but maybe they're just really, really good. J-Team, I don't know nothing about, but I remember LMS. LMS in the past has been deadly. I don't think you can underestimate it by any stretch of the imagination. I think Griffin is the least interesting Korean team coming into the World Championship. I think it's the least exciting team because in playoffs, they always fall flat. And also with Griffin, also in regular split, like they started to lose coming into the end. They got 2-0'd by Damwon. They got 2-0'd by, they got 2-0'd by SKT as well. The reason Damwon is so hyped up is because, honestly, early game, their top side is so freaking monster. Canyon, Showmaker, and Naguri, they are basically the IG of this tournament of last year. It's really, really easy to compare them to Rookie, Deshai, and Ning when they were just smacking everybody around, And with that being said, just on that alone, they can win the tournament, because Damwon actually are trying to push things in mid-game. The biggest difference between EU teams and the Korean teams is that the supports and the junglers of the European teams know way more how to use folk in mid-game and how to pressure the whole map. Something that's a tendency for the Korean teams is that they show a bit too much onto the mid lane. They show too much in the lanes, and I think that causes the mid game to slow down a bit, because everything that happens in the mid game for the Korean teams is very predictable. I think this is the biggest issue. Like that one can be the IG of this tournament from last year. So if Damwon gets into here, I think top 2 guaranteed. If Splice get into here, honestly, I don't think Splice is going to get that high. Then Gigabyte Marines, their craziness can be wild, and it's rough, FPX, Gigabyte Marine, in the case of Splice, come through. Otherwise, FPX and Damwon go through. I think I'm predicting Damwon to go first if they happen to be in this group. I think Gimgun, if he gets targeted by a couple of bans, I think he looks a bit worse, you know? I think he's very reliant on a specific set of champions to look like a fucking, you know, top tier top laner, meaning like potentially best top laner in the world, like Gangplank or Mordekaiser, that kind of deal. Nuguri has a wide champion pool. There are many counters, and I think that can be super deadly. FPX versus Canyon. I mean, FPX versus Damon is also a really hype matchup. Jesus. Okay, on to Group C. Now, Group C is a big fucking tragedy. You know that? It's a big tragedy because imagine you live in a world where SKT, Fnatic, or RNG are not going to go through. Already that puts the whole seeding situation into question, because there's no way in hell Fnatic and RNG should be rated the same level as J-Team and Gigabyte Marines. Because how are they equally seeded, you know? Is C9 as good as Griffin, Fnatic, and RNG according to this seeding system? RNG aren't that good anymore though. That's a really big lie. To think that RNG is not good anymore is really not true. Uziai's form this year is nuts. Uziai's form this year is absolutely crazy. C9 is actually pretty good. Well, C9 has nothing to say to Griffin, Fnatic, and RNG. I assure you that. They have nothing to say to them. So RNG are coming into this tournament for the first time. They have a, like, not the first time, but they have a top laner that will actually play the game, you know? Like last year, Let Me was not that good. And people thinking Fnatic are doomed, it's also a really big meme. Because Fnatic is one of the best of one teams in the world. If not potentially the best. Because they throw weird shit at you, you know? And when they get the lead, they fucking close. They close. And people might take away a lot from the series against G2, but this is a very specific stylistic matchup. Fnatic against other teams, they will not let you rest. And I don't know how used to that RNG is and SKT is. You know, Fnatic, the games they look the deadliest is when they get they get the lead, and all of a sudden they run away with it, you know. The biggest problem I have is I don't know how Fnatic is going to deal with SKT. Stylistically, I don't know how they're going to deal with SKT, because SKT, something that they do really good is they pressure through mid lane, and this is something that Fnatic sometimes struggles with. The 2v2 mid lane of SK Telecom is the strongest at this tournament. And also a big question mark for me is Whippo is good when he's playing counter picks, very much less so when he's not. And Xiao and Khan, you know, people like to think that Khan trolled this season, which is true, you know, it's true. At the beginning of summer, he had a very rough start, but it did settle down and he was no longer a big liability for SK Telecom as they progressed. So for me, just because of this reason, I think SKT will top this group, and then I think Fnatic will be second. But this is probably the hardest group ever to fucking assess. Really difficult. Really difficult. Do you think that Langx is a big problem for RNG? No, Xiao is good. Like, he used to be called Xiao. That's what I call them. Any words of Teddy effort? I think they're all also really good. They're not gonna like bend over and get. Thank you for blessing me. Teddy and effort are really good in the sense that they will not get smashed by Uzi. They will not get smashed by Reckless Illisan. SKT, like, they can patiently wait for mid 2v2 to win the game. Teddy wasn't really good at MSI, but LCS is really strong. I agree. I think SKT tops this group. Fnatic second, RNG third, and then Clutch Gaming 0-6. Think Clutch Gaming will do anything here? They can dream about it. You think Teddy is the best AD in the tournament? I think Uziai or Perks is the two best ADs of the tournament. You think Perks is better than Teddy Viper? Yeah, I think Perks is better than Teddy and Viper. How do you think Vitality will do? We'll be very comfortable at home. I'm 100% certain that Perks, like, my opinion is that Perks is better than Viper. I think ranking of AD is like Uzi, Perks, Teddy, then like Jackie Love, Viper, maybe Viper above Jackie Love, and then Doublelift is like 6th. LWX is, honestly, I'm not so impressed by LWX. I'm not super excited by LWX. Explain reasoning for Perks Viper. Like Perks, look at MSI. Perks playing Kai'Sa and Xayah, you know. It didn't look like he was worse than all of these AD carries that everyone's hyped up about, you know. He was in a tournament with Jackie Love and fucking Teddy, okay? And was he at any point a problem? No, he was a strength. They were getting ahead. Perks has better understanding in any AD carry, how to farm side. He has better understanding out of any AD carry on how to assess situations in terms of baiting people. Like he understands the game from such a wide angle that a lot of AD carries can't do. And he also has an insane champion pool. Crazy champion pool. And the more important the game is, the better he plays. People like to look at the G2 Fnatic series and say that he didn't play good, but he played insanely fucking well. He did maybe some recall mistakes, but that's like whatever, you know. He based where he shouldn't base and had to burn flash. Like who fucking cares about this? Gonna judge a person's ability on this? Mickey was hard running it down in the series against Fnatic. Perks is a winner, but Uzi and Teddy are better classical ADCs. Maybe, yeah, sure. They are better Kai'Sa, but Perks is the better player. Yeah, the trash games, Mickey played good after lane, but in lane he was trolling. Which team is Viper on? He's on Griffin. I think Sneaky is the best ADC that was ever at Worlds, most underrated ADC by far. And this is another reason why people argue against the legalization of the decriminalization of drugs, because of people like this. But my biggest issue with Group C is the fact that we have a group like Group C. Like, what's the seeding system that puts us in a group where 3 potential semi-finalists are in the same group? One of these teams is going to go out. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It is an absolute tragedy, man. It's a tragedy. What the fuck, man? How would you resolve that issue system? Like, let's see players who loses bracket or no, some dynamic seeding. You know, we can understand. It's very clear that seed 3 down 1 is going to be better than a lot of these teams. Is it right then that they're going to be, you know, just make the seeding more dynamic? Like, this seeding system is supposed to be like fair, but it's not supposed to be fair. The seeding system is supposed to objectively show who is the best. Or an elo system, yeah, that could work too. An elo system. If Damon is drafted to Group D, they'll be first no matter what, right? No, not necessarily. We can continue on to Group D. So we spoke about Group C. I predict SK Telecom to go out first. I think Fnatic second, and then RNG third. This is like, yeah, the Champions League example is good. Imagine you have a group in Champions League, and then all of a sudden, yeah, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and Juventus is in the same group. In what world are these teams? In what world is Griffin, Fnatic, RNG, and IG the same level as C9, AHQ, J-Team, Gigabyte Marines? Swap C9 and Fnatic and no one says anything? Well, people would say, like, why the fuck is there 2 EU teams in the same group? How would you compare teams from different regions against each other when they hardly play against each other? But that's the thing, they do. We've had 9 years of competitive League of Legends now. 9 years. So, on to Group D. Once again, I have no clue about AHQ. I'm going to assume they are worse than Team Liquid and IG. If Damwon comes into this, I believe a lot of it hangs on IG's level here. Because as much as people like to not talk well about Team Liquid and how it's a meme and such, something that Team Liquid and a lot of the NA teams have, which is a massive strength in comparison to a lot of the teams that are big question marks, is that Team Liquid and Cloud9 are very, very consistent in their play. I would 100% of the time trust Team Liquid to beat a worse team over G2. If Team Liquid and G2 both have to face Fangvo Buffalo, I would bet on Team Liquid that they're going to win. Because they are very, very consistent in their approach to the game. Which is also a problem, right? It's a problem when you want to beat the best. Team Liquid have definitely improved. I think their MSI run was impressive. They beat IG. Of course, IG looked way worse than they ever had. The biggest thing here is Team Liquid. I think their performance is always 80%. You know, let's rate their performance 80% all the time. IG and Damwon have a lot of variance, and that could be a big issue. These are best of ones. If you have variance, then all of a sudden you don't know what's gonna happen. There is definitely a world where Team Liquid finish first. Jensen can match Rookie. I don't think he can match Rookie on a day where Rookie plays super well, but he has had a very hard time this split. It's also the same with The Shy. I don't see a world where where Impact can match The Shy when The Shy is playing at his top level. But IG seems so far from it. They seem very disconnected from it, even though their series against Top, you saw glimpses of what they could potentially do. You know, in the series against Top, you saw The Shy popping off, having monster games. You saw Rookie having monster games. You saw Jackie Love having monster games. So you saw glimpses of what IG could potentially be again. Because I will not easily forget what IG were last year. They were scary. Impact can crush The Shy in Mao, in my opinion. That is quite optimistic, my friend. Quite optimistic. If Splice in Group D, rip. Rest in pepperonis. Team Liquid and IG will stomp Splice. Team Liquid will destroy Splice. Splice has no chance against Team Liquid. I don't think stylistically they have any chance. Splice play with too little variance in their play, and Team Liquid is perfect against these teams. Team Liquid would smack every European team outside of Fnatic and IG, honestly. Team Liquid are so solid in their play. I think they are very, very strong in that sense. And we need to give respect to that. Coming into a tournament where a lot of teams is like, oh, they could win the tournament, or they can go and suck some balls, you know? Oh, G2, not IG. I meant G2 and Fnatic, sorry. It's very important that you highlight that this is best of one. It's best of one, and there's a world where a game is taken from someone else and a game is taken from somewhere else. Very, very possible. Do you prefer that one in B or D? I prefer it in D. I prefer it in D because then we have another group of death. And if we have a group of death, I can see a world where IG don't make it through. And they lose in groups. Can C9 beat Griffin? Probably not. Probably not. C9 and CG lost TL 3-2, so it means too that C9 CG spy somehow. No, not necessarily. Can G2 win the whole thing? Yes. I just want to summarize so I can stop recording the video. G2, I think G2 will be first. I think Griffin will be second. I think it will be close. I think it will be a tiebreaker that G2 is going to win. This Hong Kong attitude, I don't know. It would be hilarious if G2 beat Griffin 2 times and then like lose to C9 and Hong Kong Attitude and then Griffin gets first. Some dumb shit like this. Wouldn't be surprised. G2 have a lot of variance and I could be completely off with my prediction. I see that. I understand that completely, that G2, there's a world where G2 doesn't get through groups. For sure. But at their own cost, you know? At their own cost. Griffin, also a lot of variance. We don't know what kind of Griffin is coming into this. Are they going to be pressured? Are they going to choke? Are they going to deal with traveling well? They're going to come to Europe. They're going to maybe bootcamp in Europe. They have a lot of things to deal with. And Griffin seem very off outside of their comfort zone, you know? When they play the best of fives in a different venue, all of a sudden it's like, ugh, what's happening here? Because coming into the end of the split as well, Griffin looked a lot worse than they did. They couldn't really find themselves. They lost against Damwon, they lost against SKT. They 2-0'd a lot of lower tier teams, but started to lose by coming into the end of the split, coming into playoffs. So I don't know. Griffin, on paper, individually, they have some fantastic players. Tarzan, Chovy, really, really good players. I think Viper is also, it's like Perks Light, I think is interesting. But like Griffin is the least hyped, in my eyes, least hyped Korean team coming into this tournament. I'm really sold on SK Telecom. Because I think Faker and Clid 2v2 mid is out of this world. They are the best 2v2 mid in the tournament. Maybe Doinby and Tian can find something there. So, who knows? Maybe C9 beat Griffin, who knows? Group B, I know very little about Gigabyte Marine and J Team, but I think FPX versus Damwon would be a very interesting matchup. They would, I think, Damwon would go first place in such a case, and FPX second. If Splice get into this group, I imagine Gigabyte Marine's going through, because I don't think Splice deals with variance that well. Group C, I think Fnatic is a very underrated best of one team. They can really, really get some very easy victories from even the best. We saw that in regular split against G2, Fnatic in best of ones can be deadly as fuck. I think SKT coming into this group though, they are the most established team out of these three to play through topside. This will be a very big deal coming into the tournament. It depends heavily on Khan's form, but I think SKT with Clid and Faker can dominate the map and definitely play the game at their own pace. Fnatic though, I think they'll take second. I think RNG will be third. And to add to that notion, this is the seeding system has to change. It just has to change. 100% it has to change. This is not acceptable that this is a group. It's just not acceptable. Faker is so overrated. Jesus. What the hell are you talking about? Faker overrated. What a joke. You know, people like to say that Faker didn't perform, but I still think he was the best performing mid laner in Summer Split. That's the thing. I think he was the best performer. People say, oh, he underperformed. People think Faker not 1v9ing? Faker not 1v9ing, that's him underperforming and playing bad. You know, SKT after MSI, Khan and Mata were running it down. You know, SKT were heavily underperforming because of Mata and also because of Khan. And now they found the way they want to play the game, meaning they are putting heavy emphasis on 2v2 mid, and then Faker is pressuring the whole map together with Clid. This is very deadly, and this is something that everyone should aspire to do. But many teams, you know, they reach a point where it's too difficult, too hard, and they sweep it under the rug. But SKT have mastered it. FPX have mastered it, and that's what makes them so freaking dangerous. You know? So freaking dangerous, the fact that they are willing to play through mid, they know their timings perfectly, and they do it well. People think the moment Faker's no 1v9ing, he's underperforming. He's picking worst matchup, he's 5-10 CS behind, oh, he's underperforming. This guy is better than him. Why you put FPX second in this group? I have a lot of faith in Damwon. And I think Damwon topside is going to be better than FPX topside. but definitely there's a world where FPX come first. I'm completely fine with predicting both. So Group B, either Damwon gets in here or Splice get in here. I made predictions for both. Group D prediction, I see a world where Team Liquid get first, honestly. Team Liquid, in a world where there's a lot of variance, we know the level Team Liquid are at. They are slowly improving, and they don't play with a lot of variance. They're very consistent. I think they lack a bit of firepower in the jungle to make it really far in this tournament, because the jungle pool and mid pool of this tournament is just crazy when you think about it. Like, the mid laners that are crazy at this tournament: Xiaohu, Faker, Rookie, you have Caps, you have Showmaker, Chovy. These are some fantastic players. Doinby, Perks, and I think Jensen is slightly worse than all of them. Yeah. Same with Xmithy. Xmithy versus Tarzan versus Canyon versus Klid versus Jankos versus Tian versus Karsa. I think it's going to be a bit worse, you know? But Team Liquid's strength is the fact that they are consistently here, you know? They head into a game, you know exactly what you have on your hands, you know? A lot of these teams, IG, we don't know what the fuck IG is going to do at this tournament. No fucking clue. They started to look fine against Top, but Top looked kind of shit too, you know? Levi, sure, Levi. I didn't watch Levi, so I can't say. Jankos is overrated? What are you talking about? Look at the regular split. Look at the playoffs. He was an absolute monster. Which bot lane is the best in Group C? RNG bot lane, probably. I think main can be crazy. Rox is underrated? I don't think so. Best 3 junglers of worlds? I think Klid, Tarzan, Jankos. What do you think about LS top 20? Honestly, I can't remember it too much now. But with the reasoning, you know, with his reasoning, I guess it makes a bit of sense. I don't remember exactly the order. I think he overrates some of the players in Korea and underrates a lot of the players in Korea too. But I look at different criteria, you know? It's hard to compare. Royal Youth is probably the weakest TCL team TCL has ever sent. I think TCL is declining in quality. Oh. Shit, man. This one is the toughest, I think. This one is really hard. Nah. Fuck it. This is really difficult. Honestly, this is a tricky one. Why do you consider TL over IG? Because Team Liquid have pretty... they have a decent level of consistency. And IG is really... I don't know what IG we get. But for the sake of the quality of the tournament, I'm hoping we get a good IG and then we can put them here. Do you think bot lane meta will still be Xayah Kaiser? Yeah, these champions are not balanced. Jackie Love Kaiser is insane. Well, a lot of Kaisers are insane at this tournament. Viper Kaiser is so good. You know? Viper Kaiser, Uzi Kaiser, you have Teddy Kaiser, you have LWX Kaiser. You know, there's many Kaiser players. Because Kaiser's busted. You no longer say, oh, this guy is such a good Kaiser. Every AD, if you're good AD, you're good Kaiser. You had to play Kaiser this entire year, otherwise just Go take a shit. People are gonna get really upset about my top 20. People are gonna get so upset at my top 20 list. It's gonna be fun. Can you give me hope for Fnatic? They are crazy best of one team. Best of one, Fnatic is dangerous. People are sleeping on Fnatic, man. People are sleeping on Fnatic. Isn't G2 good at best of one? Yeah, Europe, best of one kings. Why do you rate Code JJ before Mickey? Is this a joke? You think Mickey played good recently? I don't think Mickey played that good recently. I think Code JJ is really fucking good. Mickey probably can be the best support in the world. No doubt. I think Faker is better than Caps. Yeah, he is. Code JJ might be the best player in LCS. Might be. Basically, I have my top 10 done. I don't have my bottom top 20 done. I hope you put Doinby at least top 5. Doinby is my 5. You guys want to see my top 5? I'll reveal my top 5. That's first. You ready for my top 5? I don't think you're ready for my top 5. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Alright. This is my top 5. Grab your pitchforks. Boom. This is my top 5. Worse than Alice is no joke. That's okay. Dun 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 dun. This is EULS. Honestly, I'm not so sold on Chovy. Okay, should I explain? Okay. So, the reason Faker's first is people like to point out that Faker didn't play so well in summer. Honestly, I disagree. I think he had good performance, and I think SKT struggled with a lot of issues that weren't necessarily tied to his performance. I think a lot of people listen to what people say and have a very high expectation of what Faker can do in the game, but the game is really far from the point where he can 1v9. Faker, as a mid laner, does so much for his team, and people always like to choke it up to, Faker gets attention from his team, everyone plays around him, blah 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 blah. It's the fact that SKT have really mastered the way of playing 2v2 mid, and it's really a beauty to watch in the early game. Klid and Faker, they play matchups that are worse sometimes. They still play on the right timers. They pressure on the right time. And as crazy as it might seem, I think it's the least selfish mid laner coming out of Korea in Faker. I think Chovy and Showmaker are fantastic laners in terms of laning 1v1, and they could potentially beat Faker with some CS, but not enough for it to matter. I think Showmaker and Chovy are fantastic laners, but what Faker does for his team is just better, in my eyes. On top of that, Faker always, when it comes to big tournaments, he is I don't. Am I saying shoemaker? I'm saying showmaker. What's shoemaker? Faker at MSI was really insane. Faker at MSI was really good. If it wasn't like G2, if FSKT beat G2 instead of losing to G2 Game 5, then Faker would be MVP of MSI. MVP of MSI. And all of a sudden, whole history would be rewritten. Whole history would be rewritten. Whole history would be rewritten. Right? But Faker's performance MSI was really good. Throughout the regular summer split, SKT struggled with variety of issues. Yeah? They struggled with variety of issues. There was Mata trolling. Mata making many mistakes. Khan making many mistakes, and SKT just being generally lost. And on top of that, every team that goes to MSI always perform worse during regular split, with the exception of the winner. The winner of MSI continues to dominate. That's pretty funny, you know? There's something about winning that's fun, you know? SKT came back, you need to rest. You need to come back, you need to rest. You know? IG need to rest. Team Liquid in the beginning of looked kind of cocktail as well. Yeah? Kind of cocktail. SKT had a variety of issues, and people are so confident to say that Faker is heavily underperforming. They're judging the game off of that. Not possible. Faker continued to get better as his team got better, because it's a fucking team game, you know? Coming into playoffs, where were all these mid laners that everyone likes to rate so high? Where was Showmaker? Where was Chovy against SK Telecom? I know Faker got solo killed once, but at the end of the day, Clid and Faker together is fantastic. Really good. Uzi, honestly, Uzi's form has been really crazy. I think this year RNG's success were heavily on Uzi's shoulder. I think Uzi had an ability together with Ming to he made a lot of really good bot lanes look a lot worse. And that's very difficult in China. Very difficult in China. In China, AD carry pool is freaking stacked to the bone, man. To the bone. And Uzi is another person, same as Faker, always finds form. Well, the more important the tournament is, the better they play. I don't like to bring up the fact history and blah blah blah, because in most of the time it's irrelevant. But Faker, Uzi, Perks as well, they know how to find form. Really insane. LWX is the most overrated ADC in the world? Maybe. Uzi made him look worse. LWX, I think a lot of AD carries have the privilege of having fantastic topsides that allow them to play the same champions over and over. Same champions over and over. That's why you will notice here. So I have Naguri and Showmaker here, right? Down one, their bot lane doesn't get exposed at all. They're playing two champions each, over and over, because everyone's using bans on Naguri, Showmaker. The bans are coming in, you know? So Uzi, I think, is, you know, honestly, if you take a look at a lot of the RNG games, people are saying that it's wasted resources on Uzi, but honestly, look how many resources the teams put into trying to fuck Uzi. It is really insane as well, you know? Lost to Yanam, by the way. This is not... we're not rating teams here. This doesn't say RNG second best team. It says Uzi, you know? And do you see any other RNG player here? No, because they don't deserve to be here. They don't deserve to be here. Doinby. A big part of my reasoning here for Doinby is like I was considering doing this as well instead of the crisp, because Doinby and Tian, once again, they have a very clear grasp. They have a very, very clear grasp of how to pressure through mid. And I wanted to put Crisp here because honestly, Crisp is also really, really insane. Doinby coming into the tournament will have, honestly, I think a great time, because all the mid laners that a lot of people play are looking worse with the nerfs, and Doinby spreads pressure onto the map in a very beautiful way. And I think, you know, in my eyes, I rate that very highly. 2v2 mid, 3v3 mid, I think is going to be a very big deal this tournament. And I rate that very highly. And I put that responsibility on the mid laner most of the time. I think Doinby, how FPX as a team play around mid and they find opportunities to pressure together, and Doinby's exotic champion pool is a massive strength. And I think it's also defining for FPX and their playstyle. Because if FPX are going to do well, it is because of what Doinby is doing in the game. And I think that's something that's been very, very powerful always when it comes to Doinby's teams. With that being said, you know, I can see arguments for people wanting to put him in the bottom 20 or in the top 20. This is very, very, I think Doinby is very, he's a subject of many, like a large variety of opinions, for sure. That's for sure with Doinby. Doinby is a player that either you like him or you don't, you know? Perks, something that I value very highly is, you know, looking at Perks' performance at MSI, everyone was talking about how he was or is a weakness in the AD carry role. At MSI, the competition he was against was Doublelift, it was Jackie Love, it was Teddy, and he performed phenomenally. I think Perks has better understanding of how to farm side lanes and how to pressure side lanes, but how to use TP, better understanding of this than any other bot laner. He has a bigger champion pool than any other bot laner. He definitely is a clutch player, you know? The deeper you go into a tournament, he understands how much he needs to work to raise himself to another level. There are many, many times when you look back at the success of G2, it is always on the shoulders of Perks. MSI caps, sure. Now Perks is surrounded by like-minded individuals that are great players. Game 5 against Fnatic was a wonderful Syndra performance. I just think that Perks' understanding of how to play the game is unmatched, you know, in the AD carry role. And I think that's really, really huge. Really, really huge. Reckless better than Perks if it comes to classic marksman? That's an argument you can make, for sure. But Perks to MSI was crazy good. The reason I put Tarzan here is because I think Tarzan is the best performer on Griffin. I think in comparison to the other junglers, I think we saw many 1v9 performances from Tarzan. And I think in the jungle role that's very, very difficult. I think it's much easier to put AD carries and mid laners and top laners in this list than it is to put junglers. But Tarzan is definitely, you know, I think Griffin's performance really rides on what Tarzan can and cannot do. And I think when I think of Tarzan's regular split performance, I remember many occasions where I was like, Jesus Christ. You know, they beat SKT in one game. I think that was on the shoulders of Tarzan. I think Griffin's the performance lives or dies by Tarzan. And that puts him in a tough position. The reason I put Tarzan over Klid is because it's hard for me to imagine Klid doing the same as Tarzan in Griffin. While I can imagine Tarzan doing the same as Klid is doing in SKT. That is why there is a difference here in positioning. So Naguri is probably a very, very questionable one. I think Naguri has the potential to be the best top player of this tournament. He also has the potential of being the reason why my list is a big joke. And I can see that very, very clearly. I think coming into this tournament, though, I think he has the most well-rounded and prepared champion pool to do well in this tournament. And I think he is working with a person, basically he's working with IG's former coach. I think that's a big deal. I think Canyon Naguri, top 2v2, is definitely one that can win you tournaments. I put Naguri on 6th here because I'm predicting that the meta at the World Championship will be very, very top-centric. And if it is, I think Naguri is going to be an absolute unit. Absolute monster. I think he plays the right champions to fit in this meta. Vladimir, Jace, we had some Renekton games. I think he's super, super good. Damwon could be what IG was last year. Or they could be absolute garbage. That's what's so fun about Damwon. But I have so much trust in their coaching staff because honestly, this is... So they're working with Coach Kim, okay? Oh, that's not... So this guy, look at this guy's resume, okay? So he was at IG when they won the World Championship. And then he joined Damwon, okay? Before Damwon, he was in Longzhou. The Longzhou that beat SKT. Here. And this was the year that Khan, coming into the World Championship, people were like, Khan is the best top laner in the world, okay? Coming into the World Championship, the Shy is the best top laner in the world. There's a lot of history here in Kim's understanding, okay? In Kim's understanding of how to win games. So, with that being said, I'm predicting that... So I have a lot of faith in Naguri's potential performance. So my biggest reasoning in my list is how I believe they're going to perform at the World Championship. Valuing things like the things that are moving around them, valuing things like history, but only in terms of how frequently they reach top form. I don't give a shit if a team won Worlds last year, like IG. I don't care if they haven't proven that they can always find form when they need to, which just hasn't been true. If IG had that true about themselves, then Rookie would have been at the World Championship more than just 2 times, right? Well, that's unfair. Scratch that part about Rookie. They wouldn't implode the way they did coming into the series against Team Liquid. So here's Klid. Number 7 is Klid. Klid is fantastic, honestly. I think it's a big reason why I like Faker and Klid 2v2 mid duo I think, is the best at the tournament. I truly, truly believe that. His MSI performance was absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. They didn't implode per se, they were counterplayed, read and countered. You know, when the World Championship winners IG are going into the tournament and go 9-1 in group and stomp everyone and then start to lose lanes that they shouldn't lose, then, you know, I think they imploded. Like Jakilov and Baulan, I remember, were getting stomped this series. Like JJ and Doublelift were destroying them in lane. That's not to knock anything off of the Doublelift and Coach JJ. It's just at the highest level when you have world champions in the game. This is not what you expect. So Klid, just great overall jungler. Keeps his champion pool quite tight. I think in playoffs he was really, really good. I think best jungle mid duo, Faker Klid. I think at MSI was really, really good. And I think during the times where SKT were showing poor form, I think Klid was still a very good performer. I think Klid is a jungler that definitely you have to pay attention to. And him, Klid versus Tarzan, is a matchup that has gone in Klid's favors. Showmaker is next, because I think Showmaker and Chovy are very similar, but I think Showmaker has shown more that he can perform under pressure. I think also Showmaker has shown more in terms of how he can interact with the rest of his team, which I think is a weakness of Chovy and Showmaker. I think they are very selfish in comparison to other mid laners like Doinby and Faker. And I think in terms of laning, Showmaker could be the best laner in the world. And I put that on an 8th. Akali is nerfed coming into this tournament. Maybe that's a reason why Showmaker should potentially be lower, but I'm sure he can find other things to play. And, you know, it's funny how similar Chovy and Showmaker really, really are. So maybe Akali nerf puts him in the dumpster, who knows. And that's why that one is such a big question mark, you know? Such a big, big question mark. I thought Chovy is the best laner in Korea. It's just that it's hard to imagine anything but Chovy because Griffin started to underperform coming into the end of the split, also in playoffs. Chovy maybe is better, but he hasn't shown it in games that are important. So that's why it's hard to judge Chovy. There's a world where Chovy is the best performing mid laner at the tournament, sure, but I don't believe so. During a regular split, there are times where he's I guess when it comes to Showmaker, it's more about the regional finals than playoffs. Because SKT honestly dumpstered everybody. At least Griffin won a game, right? Just not sold on Chovy yet. Definitely is going to be in the list. That's for sure. How hard is it actually to rate Griffin? Very difficult. Very, very difficult. I think to say that they have no chance to do well in this tournament is ridiculous, and to say that they are going to perform really, really well at this tournament is also ridiculous. Jankos is here, below Klid and Tarzan. I think what Jankos does well is that he plays very, very well with a lot of variance. And a big question mark for Jankos for me is I think other regions in terms of junglers are super, super stacked. And this would be like a really, really true test, I feel. Jankos could outperform Tarzan and Klid. I see that. But my gut tells me that this is fair. I think this is a tough one. I think Jankos made Broxah look really bad. Jankos made Broxah look pretty bad, and it's weird because junglers are often a product of how your team plays. And Jankos, honestly, in playoffs played fucking wonderfully, you know? I just want to see him against tough competition. You know? That's why I don't feel ready to put him higher than Tarzan and Klid. Because I want to see Jankos more against tough competition. Someone said Perks without Mickey is not that good. Well, you know, Mickey was on Misfits before G2 and he was not even in playoffs. So, something to think about. This one, I'm not sure about, because I think they both belong here. They're like a shared gang. Isn't Fnatic tough competition? I don't rate the junglers in Europe that highly, honestly. How come you rank LCK players so highly when all they do is wait for plays that work 90% of the time? So this is a guy that reads top Reddit comments. You know, when people tell me that people tell me
behind on CS for Chovy.
Okay. Yeah. Let's take a look at this game, yeah? Look. Okay. Level 1 action. Yeah. Flash burned. Door and invading. Yeah. Really big gamble already. 2 big gambles already. Yeah. 2 big gambles. Okay. Tarzan. Sneeze on his face. Force a TP. Tarzan has no flash. Goes to the plant. Big smurf move. Yeah. This is 100% safe, right? They are playing so pussy mode. It's not like they are risking the whole game by doing plays like this, right? They're definitely just waiting for late game. Imagine people saying like, oh, you don't put this player on the list. Like there's 10 players here. Not having equal criteria for every pick makes the list random and biased. Of course it's biased. It's my fucking list. What else did you expect? It's my list. This is not... my experience of these players is always going to be biased. I don't know, man. It's so hard. How do you do bottom 10? It's so hard. Like top 10, I'm happy with, you know. whenever SKT does bad, people are always looking at Faker and thinking, oh, this team has Faker. They are losing. It must be Faker that's underperforming. SKT's issues stemmed from the fact that they had a very underperforming support, very underperforming top. And also the fact that they had just come from MSI and they need to rest. They need to make sure they don't burn out. They need to make sure that they peak for playoffs. That's something that SKT always managed to do. SKT always manages to peak at the right time, and a core of that is Faker. Look at Faker's performance in playoffs. Look at Faker's performance in the last weeks of the LCK. Look at Faker's performance in MSI. Look at Faker's performance at any fucking international tournament. And try to tell me what was so wrong about what he did. Coming into this tournament, Faker will find his top form. I think there's a big chance SKT will win Worlds because Effort plays good. Effort plays good. Effort plays really good. Way better than Mata. Khan, also in playoffs, was really good. It's not necessarily international experience. There's a lot of players with a lot of international experience, but it doesn't mean jack shit. Like, do we count Team Liquid international experience? Does it count? Do we count Team Liquid international experience? They've been to Worlds how many times? Doesn't matter. It's about the fact that when it's important, there are some players that find really fucking good form. They understand themselves, they understand the game, they understand what they need to do. And I think that's the two biggest examples of this is Faker and Uzi. Khan 2017 was very disappointing because he came into the tournament rated as the best player. Doinby is super important for his team too. That's why I put him third. I just think there's a consistency issue with Doinby coming into important games as well. A lot of his teams have always dominated the regular split and have fallen short. I don't know how to rate the rest. Honestly, I don't know. Nemesis could be an honorable mention. Can you do top 5 per role? Top, Guri, Wunder, Imgun, Shy. So the reason I rate Perk so high is I think on AD carries at MSI he showed that he can compete with the absolute best. He had some great competition in Europe in the position, and he showed what he's capable of on both Zaya, Kaiser, and a lot of other things. I think he is very smart in terms of how you want to play the game. I think he farms better on side, farms more effectively, rotates more effectively than any AD here at the tournament. I think he uses his TP better than any AD at this tournament. I think he has a better champion pool than any AD at this tournament. I think he also doesn't have a necessary weakness against the top of the heap AD carries on traditional AD carries as well. When he laned against Double Lift or when he laned against Jackie Love or what's it called? Or Teddy, it didn't seem like a big weakness. Especially when he TPs with Mordekaiser, yeah. When he TPs with Mordekaiser. Why is Uzi ahead of him then? Oh, that's a fair question. Uzi has an edge when it comes to the traditional AD carries. And that edge when it comes to Uzi and being able to bring it out at key moments is why I rate Uzi so high. Uzi has something special in the fact that he makes great ADCs look bad. And that's super scary, man. He makes great AD carries look bad. Perks does it playing mages. He makes great AD carries look bad. Perks should be higher than Uzi just because of Game 5 last year at Worlds. Okay, I've explained why Perks is so high. Do you think we will see some rise at Worlds? Yeah, for sure. For sure Pantheon and Neko will show up. We got too many buffs, and Pantheon is a very interesting champion with a lot of possibilities. I'm not at the liberty of making concrete predictions on what champions will be played. ADCs being underpowered at Worlds is very untrue.
But will they play AD carry, protect him, Ardent Sensor?
Around the shields, Ardent Sensor.
Support.
Item if the Ardent Sensor comes first.
Worlds where we have more of these Ardent Sensor late game comp.
Is it going to be barrier heal on both sides, relic shield on half the AD carries?
Well, the Ardent Sensor
And an Ardent Sensor meta?
The Ardent Sensors.
Ban away these Ardent Sensor supports Lulu or Janna. Ardent Sensor supports getting removed. I love the fact that Ivan is being used. He was like low-key good coming into this because he brings Ardent Sensor. So when you run a support without Ardent Sensor, Ivan will bring that. We get that Alistar we just talked about. There's a Varus with no mobility on the side of Samsung.
However, they have still found an Ardent Sensor in there. You can't ban all of them right there.
With that Ardent Sensor.
There are other ways to get Ardent Sensor.
Double Relic Shield lanes, have you seen that one? They're trying to funnel gold as much as possible.
Core JJ gets his Ardent Sensor.
The way Taric with Ardent Sensor works, permanent Ardent Sensor.
As we said, that Ardent Sensor for the team.
It's got an Ardent Sensor for perks to help his attack speed.
There's Ardent Sensor from the Iron, but so many tanks and Ardent Sensor AD carries.
Trying to get that Ardent Sensor in there.
Banned away Janna and Lulu. Double relic shield into double Targon, so the most gold generation possible for the early Ardent Sensor. And also, they have no Ardent Sensor in the late game. Lulu Ardent Sensor would informed the Ardent Sensor meta.
Let's ban their Janna first of all, and
The Stoneborn packed Ardent Sensor Morgana.
Armor that he's actually thinking about will of course bring Ardent Sensor as well.
Worlds 2014, also bot lane meta. That's just not so true, my friend. Isn't this more a case for support being very valuable class with insanely strong items rather than the role ADC being strong? Sure, you can make that argument, but the name of the game was kill enemy AD, you know? The name of the game is who's the pilot of that game, you know? Who is the pilot of the Ardent Sensor? If I'm playing Janna and I'm putting Ardent Sensor on my AD, I'm still at the mercy of the performance of my AD. Oh well. This is up for debate. For sure. Maybe I would do like this. And then these players, it's just hard. Honestly, these are all players that could potentially be in the top 20, but I know that I've missed some. Probably I forgot some. This top 10 I feel pretty good about. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys some other time. All the best. Yeah, bye.